Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 729, and today's date is July 29th, 2015, and the title of this episode is The Economic Indicators Are Flashing Red. We are on a verge of a collapse. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. The interview with Greg Manarino has been uploaded to the X22 Report Spotlight channel. You can go right to that channel. Just go to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight, and the video should pop up. Or you can come over to the x22report.com site. You will see the video on the right-hand side. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, we're going to head out to Greece, and we understand things in Greece, they are not going well. We even see within the Syriza party, things are starting to kind of come to a head. A lot of the parties rebelling. Tsipras is looking at the situation, and he's even accusing the creditors of not negotiating in good faith, noting that the quartet of institutions wasn't independent. And we see at this point in time that the Syriza Central Committee, they're due to hold an emergency meeting Thursday in an attempt to find a way to settle the growing rift within the party over whether the government should agree to a third bailout or not. And it looks like this bailout seems to be basically teetering back and forth, and we know this is not a good deal. We know this is not good for the people. We know Tsipras was forced into doing something he really didn't want to do. He didn't listen to the people that voted for him because they voted, we do not want this. And right now, the Greek parliament, their budget office, they came out with a report, and they're saying that the Greek economy is going to face a tough few months ahead. I'm going to say it's going to be longer than a few months. In its quarterly report, they are reporting that capital controls in effect since June 28th will not be lifted anytime soon, and the cost to the Greek economy will be significant. Among the report's predictions for the rest of the year is a 4% to 10% decrease of the country's GDP. I'm going to say it's going to be above 10%. And they're also saying that their country is heading into a depression. And they're predicting serious losses for the Greek economy. We already understand that retail is down by 70%. A lot of the stores are closing. A lot of people are getting let go from their jobs. And the people right now are not doing well in this country. And of course, the banking institutions are saying, hey, bring your money back. We want it back because we need to have bail-ins. And the people there realize this is not a good idea. But this whole idea of having a bailout does not help the people of Greece. It doesn't help the people of any country. It always goes to the bankers, to the creditors, to the central bank. It never goes to the people. And we're seeing the economies around the world, it is getting worse. It is not getting better. We're seeing more layoffs in many different areas. Vodafone in Spain, they're going to be laying off 1,300 people. Xerox, 3,000 jobs worldwide. BP is warning right now that there's layoffs ahead. Chevron is saying they're going to be laying off about 1,500 people. Saipem International is going to be laying off 10,000 workers. What does this tell us? This tells us the economy is struggling right now. And we're starting to see the same thing happen that happened back in 2008, where companies started to lay off during the summer months. And if we break this down, just for the year of 2015, we see Texas have laid off around 50,000 people, California 15,000, New York about 12,000, and this is in the energy areas in some of these places. Illinois 7,000, Minnesota 6,000, and the list goes on and on and on. And this is for 2015. And we have to remember, back in 2013, the United States government, they got rid of that department that records layoffs because they're saying they couldn't have it because of budget constraints. No, they didn't want to report on it, so they got rid of it. This is what they do. And if we remember back to 2008, when Obama was out there and he was telling everyone that he's going to help the everyday person. We're going to have these modified loans to help those homeowners who are underwater. And we're starting to find out that these mortgage assistant programs, they're not working. 72% of these struggling borrowers were rejected from these programs. It was great lip service, but there's still millions of people who are underwater. So let's see. The federal programs were put in place, and they were aimed at creating more affordable monthly mortgage payments so owners of homes were able to keep their homes. And how could this be happening if this is what they were designed to do? How can they be rejecting these people? According to the inspector's quarterly report to Congress, Citigroup has rejected 87% of applications for TARP, Home Affordable Modification Program, which aims to make mortgages more affordable. JP Morgan Chase rejected 84% of applications. Bank of America, 80%. So what does this tell us? This program is doing nothing, and we always know when the government comes out and tells you they're going to help the people, it's always the opposite. They're not helping the people. They're helping themselves. They're helping the central banks. They're helping the corporations. They're helping everyone except the everyday person. Now, I'm not against corporations. I'm not against capitalism. But what we have today is a fascistic country. We have a few at the top that makes everything better for them. It's not a free and open market. This is long past. The stock market is not a free and open stock market. The precious metals is not a free and open market. The legislation that they're trying to pass is not free and open, where it's completely transparent, where the people can see everything and they can make a decision. Yes, this is good for us. This is not good for us. No, it isn't. Capitalism has been gone for quite a while. And I don't reject the idea of making money. Making money is good. If you have a good product, good service, or anything like that, you should be making money to support your family, to live. But we are not seeing this anymore. We are seeing legislation introduced to support a few who are at the top. And this is what I object to. And it's getting worse and worse as time goes on. And of course, what they're doing is they're manipulating all the numbers, trying to convince everyone that all you people, it's fine out there. I don't know why you're so confused. I don't understand why you can't get a job. It must be you. No. What's happening is the jobs are leaving the people. Manufacturing is leaving the country. That's what's really happening. It's not your fault. It's what they're doing to the system. They know what they're doing to the system. It's been going on for quite a while. And every time they say, oh, these people have fallen off, these people don't want to work. Really, the people don't want to support their family. They don't want to make a living. They don't want to go on vacation. They don't want to live in a nice place. They don't want to have a car to get around. Really, they don't want any of these things. What they're saying makes no sense. I mean, they're trying to convince us that everything that's going on is the people's fault. I remember back in 2008 when the crash started to occur, they blamed everyone else. Well, those people are to blame because they took out the mortgages. Well, who accepted them? Who told them, oh yes, come on in. We'll accept everyone right now. We're going to do a credit check. We're going to take a look, and guess what? You qualify. That was the banks. That was the government. They created this. And what happened? They bailed themselves out of it. What did the people get? Oh, wait, they're rejected. People lost their homes. They lost their jobs because of this. And we're starting to see right now that this economy is held together with spit, tape, and glue because their manipulated numbers make no sense anymore. I mean, we are in the hot season for real estate. And now they're reporting that prices are coming down. And of course, the report refers to May. They're a little bit behind. We know the prices are coming down and they're going to be falling dramatically. Remember, they're reporting May as when the prices are coming down. We're in July now. Think about this for a second. Look around the country. What do you see? You see in many, many, many locations now, houses are on the market longer and longer and longer, and prices are coming down. Because as the people kept the prices up, they couldn't sell it. So they had to bring the prices down. We saw this before. And now we get pending home sales. They dropped by 1.8% in June. They expected it to rise by 0.9%. This is the biggest drop since December of 2013. Now, I know the National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Yun, continually comes out and gives us his predictions. And he said that pending sales decreased in June. The overall trend in recent months supports a solid pace of home sales this summer. Strong price appreciation and an improving economy is finally giving some owners the incentive and financial capability to sell and trade up or down. So he's trying to convince everyone once again that everything is fine. But I have to take you back to 2008 because the same person, Lawrence Yun, said this in May 19th of 2008. Silver lining, prices falling sharply. Because the prices are going down so fast, we'll be hitting the stabilization point sooner. June 17th, 2008. He predicts 99% of the market will have higher values in 5 years. September 20th, 2008. He expects the worst of housing slowdown is now over. The winter months are always weaker, he said, but this winter, in 2008, it's going to be great because of all the pent-up demand. And it cannot be held back any further. And housing sales are going to explode in the winter months of 2008. June 22nd, 2015. Soaring home prices are not a bubble. This is clearly not a bubble, and prices will continually move up. But what are we seeing right now? We're seeing the opposite happen. This is the best time of the year for homes. The summer months, spring going into summer. And we are seeing identical situations occurring. And this tells us that we are headed into a major, major problem. And as we get closer and closer to the fall, to the winter, we are going to see things completely fall apart. Just like we saw in 2008. Actually, going forward, it's going to be much, much worse. And we know whatever he said last time is completely the opposite this time because he's saying the same exact things. So whatever the National Association of Realtors are saying right now, I would say it's the opposite. We understand that the disability fund in Social Security is basically going to be depleted in the fourth quarter of 2016. So, in other words, one of the two Social Security trust funds is just months away from insolvency. That's pretty much what they're saying to us. And they have an answer for this. They came up with a solution on how to keep this going. And Congress right now is going to try to pass the H.R. 3150 bill, One Social Security Act. Now, what does it do? Well, it's going to take the insolvent disability insurance and it's going to eliminate the fund altogether. So instead of having two separate funds for two distinct purposes of Social Security, the legislation aims to combine them into one unified fund. That way, with just one fund, There won't be any separate reporting about the disability insolvency. They just made the problem go away by eliminating the requirement to report it. There's just one small issue. Legally, they have a word for this. It's called fraud. You and I go to prison if we commingled funds like this. So this is what they do. Just like they don't want to report on layoffs, let's just get rid of that department. Oh wait, we have a short in the disability fund. Let's just combine it with something else, and we just won't report it on it anymore. This is how the government is working today, to cover things up so you don't know what is going on. And it's unbelievable. Now, the Fed was out there saying the economy is on the right track, unemployment's coming down, it looks really good, but we're not ready to raise the interest rates just yet. Maybe in September. I love the way they do this all the way down to keep the stock market propped up. Like we're on the right track, we're in a recovery, and everything is fantastic. And they're holding off, and we know why they're holding off. Because as soon as they raise the rates a little bit, we know things are going to fall apart. We saw this back in 2007, 2008. When rates started to go up, people just left their homes. The real estate industry completely collapsed. The stock market crashed. Everything started to fall apart. Why do you think they've been keeping the interest rates at 0% for this long? Because this is the only way they can keep this system going. That's it. This is why they're doing it. And if they raise them right now, they know the economy would start to fall apart. And everyone would blame the central bank. They're waiting for the right moment to do this because they do not want to be blamed for this economic disaster. They're going to blame another country or another group. And they're getting prepared for this. They're letting you hear about interest rate hikes. They're conditioning everyone, saying, yes, we will be doing it and everything will be fine. But they're waiting for the right moment to do it because as soon as they do it, we know it's going to take a little while for everything to start to completely fall apart. And they're going to say, everything is going smoothly. We're in this incredible recovery. We're able to raise the rates by a little bit. We're going to do this second raising of the rates. And all of a sudden, something is going to happen. And they're going to say we were in a recovery. We were doing everything right. And look, the Islamic State, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, Syria, whatever country they'd like to blame it on or group, they will. And they'll make it look like they're the ones to blame for this entire collapse. Now, we understand that Russia has a ban on agricultural products. And they put this ban in place because the European nations and the United States placed sanctions on Russia because they were doing nothing wrong in Ukraine. And of course, they're trying to teach them a lesson. And right now, Putin just signed a decree authorizing the destruction of food imports under current embargo starting August 6. Agricultural products, raw produce, food products which originated in countries that have imposed economic sanctions against Russian legal entities and or individuals, those food items will be destroyed. Now, I wish they didn't destroy them. I think there's other ways we can go about this. Maybe if they're banning this food and they have it, maybe they should distribute it to other countries who actually need it. I think that would be a better choice instead of just destroying good food. But this is my personal opinion, and this is what I think they should be doing. Now, we understand there's been a petition for Edward Snowden to pardon him. And the White House came right out and said they're rejecting the petition. They reject it completely no matter how many signatures there are on there. There could be 1 million signatures. It doesn't make a difference. We are rejecting it. So basically what they're saying is we don't care what the people say. We don't care how many people sign this petition. We're going to do what we want to do. We don't care what the people think. And I thought this whole petition thing was to hear what the people had to say. But guess what? Just like every single government around the world, none of these governments are listening to the people. They don't care what the people have to say. They use these things to make you think that we have democracy, that you have freedoms to view your opinion. You have the freedom to say, no, this cannot be. But in reality, when push comes to shove, we really don't at this point, unless we take our country back. Now, the FBI is out there, and they're saying that Twitter and other social media, they are still not doing enough to stop the Islamic State and other terrorists. Twitter needs to do more in setting up teams to troll and monitor and review all terrorist-related tweets and content. They want them to set up a complete team to troll their systems, and they want other social media to do the same. We know that James Comey, he was testifying in front of Congress, and of course he was using fear tactics. He was using whatever he possibly could to push his agenda and to get his agency funded. Senator Juan Whedon, a ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, yesterday blocked a 2016 funding bill for the FBI and CIA. So it looks like everything that he tried to do, James Comey, it didn't work out, and they did not get additional funding. And we notice that these agencies use these type of tactics to get funding. Look at DHS when they told us, the malls were getting chatter. It looks like there's terrorism chatter, and it looks like the Islamic State could hit one of these malls. And this was in the time they were looking to get funding. And as soon as they got funding, all these warnings just went away. But we have to really understand that the spying has not stopped. They're continually doing it. And everyone has to make an effort to protect their private information. And we know eventually that these new IDs that they're producing, they're going to have RFID chips. Credit cards have RFID chips. And a great way to block the tracking and block the signal is to use a product called Block It Pocket. And basically what it is, it's just a sleeve where it's made up of copper, silver, nickel, and they interweave it into a fabric, and it blocks the signal. You can use it for your phone, you can use it for your credit card, you can use it for your driver's license, and it will completely block the signal. And it also blocks the harmful radiation while you're on the phone. And you can find that at blockitpocket.com, and this is a great product to use. You can also create your own encryption. Make sure you know the method and the key. You can also use search engines like Startpage, and there's a new one called Good Gopher. And this was created for alternative media to strip out a lot of the searches that we've been seeing. So there's many different things you can do to mask your privacy, to keep your information private, just like you lock your home. You lock your personal things in a safe. You don't give out your keys to the government and say, you have access to my home anytime you want. Here's the combination to my safe. You don't do that. The same with your information, the tracking of your personal items. You need to do the same thing. Now, we understand when the Islamic State was in Canada, Australia, Belgium, France, these countries pushed through certain legislation. They put troops on the ground to control what is going on in their country. And in a lot of these countries, the troops have remained. We see out in the UK, the UK government's plan is to deploy troops on Britain streets in the event of a major terrorist attack. The plan to deploy over 5,000 military personnel was mistakenly disclosed on the National Police Chiefs Council website for a short period of time, and then they removed it. And the people there are worried about this. Is it really to protect the people from terrorism, or is it being done to maintain control when this system falls apart? And a lot of the officials, government officials in England, They're worried that the military, they don't have the same type of training, procedures, and culture. And they're kind of separate and apart from the communities inside the country. And we see the same thing here in the United States and in every country. The military is not really part of the community structure because they don't send the same people that live in that area to patrol those areas. They send them to a different area. And I'm seeing this happen a lot in different countries. And we're starting to see that this is all being done to control the masses when this entire system falls apart, because they realize that people are going to riot, they're going to be scared, and we can see that they are preparing for this. They are getting ready for this. Now, we understand, I think it was like 16 months now, since the flight MH370 has disappeared off the coast of Malaysia. And it looks like some of the pieces, they're not really sure if they are actually the pieces of the plane, but a lot of them washed up on shore in Madagascar. They're looking at the fragments. They're showing a couple photos of the wing, and it looks like there's some type of code that's etched into the wing, and they could use the code to correspond to the registration of the aircraft. And in a few days, we'll have some type of answer if this is actually part of the aircraft, and they can find out what actually happened. And again, this is all shrouded in mystery. We don't know exactly what happened for sure. We don't even know if these pieces are from the airplane, but it just so happened that pieces have been washed ashore. Now, out in Kiev, we see people, hundreds of people have gathered outside the parliamentary headquarters in Kiev. They are protesting. They want better social benefits. They don't like the way the economy is going. They're a little bit angry, and we're seeing a lot more of these type of protests ramping up. We also see the right sector in the country, and they're not really happy with Poroshenko. And I don't know if the U.S. government central bankers are actually happy with Poroshenko at this point in time, because they want him to push forward with this war, and so far he hasn't done it as yet. But he continually uses the illusion that he's following the Minsk II agreement, that everything is fine. And we can see at this point in time that he's really not following the Minsk II agreement. I mean, he has ruled out, even though he made some amendments on the Constitution, he has ruled out the possibility of Ukraine's Donbass getting a special status. Now, this was included in the Minsk II agreement. The draft Constitution does not basically say there's going to be a special status for Donbass. He said this during a working trip to the western Ukraine city of Lviv. He said there will be no federalization. He said Ukraine has been and will remain a unitary state. Now, during this whole meeting of the Normandy Four, they talked about all the different points in the Minsk II agreement, and one of them was to have elections in the fall for the Donbass region, to give them autonomy. And right now, Ukraine is not following along the Minsk II agreement. Now, of course, they're using the propaganda that the southeastern people and Russia, they're not following the Minsk II at all. But we're starting to see now, no, it really is Kiev. And there's nothing in the Minsk II agreement, or nothing the U.S. is going to do, or France is going to do, or Germany is going to do, to issue penalties on Kiev. So they can follow it, or they don't have to follow it. They don't care, because it makes no difference to them at this point. They're not penalized. There's no sanctions on them. And we understand part of the plan is to make it look like Poroshenko, Kiev, Ukraine, is following the Minsk II agreement, while they build up the troops. And this is what they've been doing. We know they've been trying to set up a tribunal to look into MH17. And of course, we know there was a UN security resolution where they were supposed to be following that to look into MH17, but they want to disregard that and set up a witch hunt. This is basically what they're doing. And they're not going to look at all the evidence. They're just going to point the finger and say, yes, they're responsible. And Poroshenko, once again, is out there saying, listen, if we do not set up this tribunal, more civilian airliners could be shot down unless those behind the downing of Malaysian airline MH17 are brought to justice. And basically, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to set it up to show, most likely, that the Southeastern people did it, or Russia, however they want to play this. And of course, if they really had this evidence of who did it, believe me, it would have been produced. They would have had the satellite images all over the place. They would have had all the evidence, and they would have said, see, you did it. Because they wouldn't waste any time with that. Well, they went to the UN, and they were calling for this, and basically Russia vetoed it and said, absolutely not. We're going to follow the UN Security Council resolution. China is backing Russia, saying, yes, follow the UN Security Resolution. We don't need a witch hunt. We need facts and evidence to make a determination of what happened. But again, the witch hunt isn't about facts. It's not about finding the evidence. It's about pointing the finger, and they want to do this so badly right now to start the major offensive. And this is why they've been pushing for this so hard. Poroshenko is out there, and it seems like he's so desperate at this point in time. He is begging the U.S. for the Javelin missiles. He's saying that we need the lethal aid to Kiev. It's absolutely fair. He says the country is fighting to save what he referred to as the free world from the overhyped, non-existent Russian threat. He tried to make the case for delivery of the U.S.-made FGM-148 Javelin anti-tank missile system. He says we're just looking for about 1,200 of these, and this seems to be absolutely fair. And we're seeing that if the United States does deliver these missiles, it goes against the spirit of the Minsk Agreement. Actually, the Minsk Agreement says there should be no foreign soldiers, advisors on the ground in Ukraine, and basically the United States is there, UK is there, Spain is there, and we're seeing a lot of foreign soldiers on the ground. Of course, they're instructors, advisors. Yes, they use all these terms, but according to the Minsk Agreement, they shouldn't even be there. And if these weapons are delivered out in the open, it would go completely against the Minsk Agreement. And I don't think the United States is going to do that right in the open. Covertly, yes, but not out in the open. We understand that the United States has approved the sale of $5.4 billion in missiles to Saudi Arabia. It's the PAC-3 missile built by Lockheed. And basically, they're going to be delivering this to Saudi Arabia. And we understand that Saudi Arabia is continually bombing Yemen because they want to bring back the puppet government into Yemen. And I noticed lately they're continually trying to push the idea that the Islamic State is in Yemen. There's a couple car bombs that exploded, and of course the Islamic State group, who are the proxy army for the United States government central bankers, came out and said, yes, it is us. We are in Yemen. And we have to remember the authorization for war. That is just sitting there in Congress, gaining no traction right now until there's an event. Says that wherever the Islamic State is, that is where the United States can go. And this is why they're continually using the idea that the Islamic State is in Yemen, Libya, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria. They're saying that they're even having indications that it's in Russia, and we know they're planning to try to overthrow Putin in that country. And we have to remember, Russia is not Lebanon. It's not Ukraine. It's not Libya. It's on the same level as the United States. It's a developed country. And again, Putin has a huge support behind him. His rating is very, very high among the people. And this is going to be very, very difficult to remove him. But what are we seeing out in the Middle East? We see that the United States government central bankers are using the Islamic State as their proxy army. And we see in Iraq, a Shiite militia leader is saying that the U.S. doesn't want to resolve the crisis and put an end to the Islamic State. He's saying that, no, they're using them to achieve certain projects in Iraq, certain goals in Iraq. And this is exactly what they are doing. We've talked about this many, many times. This is to create chaos in the area. What's really happening is the people in these countries are rising up. They're sick and tired of the puppet governments, the central bank in their countries. This is why we see in Yemen, when they tried to say, oh, there's the Islamic State in Yemen, and of course the Houthis came out and said, no, there's no Islamic State here. It's us. We're the ones who want this government out. We're the ones who are pushing to take back the country. And the same thing is happening in Libya, Lebanon, Iraq. But of course, they don't want you to know that. They just want you to know it's the Islamic State in each one of these countries, but it really isn't. It's the people. And of course, they're called terrorists, just like in Ukraine. Those people who do not agree with the U.S. government, who want the puppet government out, those people don't have rights. They don't have democracy, freedom. They don't care what they say. They're called terrorists. You don't agree with us? Then you're a terrorist. That's how they think of it. Now, Turkey is looking to purchase some anti-ballistic missiles from China. Erdogan right now is visiting China. He's going to hold talks with the Chinese, and they're going to discuss the delivery of the Chinese-produced ABM systems, their components, to Turkey. And again, this was a huge problem for NATO, for the U.S., but it looks like this deal is going through. Now, Turkey actually signed the deal with the U.S., and the U.S. can now use the Incirlik base in Turkey. Now, the Incirlik base is already being used by the U.S. Air Force for logistical and humanitarian purposes, and they're saying the base is ready to go at any time to push the offensive and remove Assad. That's basically what they're saying. Now, we see that Turkey also was bombing Iraq, and of course, the Iraqi Prime Minister, al-Abadi, has slammed Turkey for launching air raids on the Iraqi soil, saying the assaults violate the Arab country's sovereignty. Well, the air raids in Syria also violate the sovereignty of Syria. Everything that's going on in Syria violates the sovereignty of this country. But it seems like nobody cares. I mean, think about this for a second. If Mexico came into the United States and started bombing because they were trying to fight the Islamic State, how would the United States take this? It wouldn't make any sense, would it? Well, it doesn't make any sense in Syria. Syria's foreign minister said Wednesday it was skeptical about the Turkish efforts to fight the Islamic State. Turkish intentions to fight the terrorists don't seem to be very genuine. They know for all these years, Turkey has always said Assad must go. The U.S., Assad must go. And they've been chanting this for years and years. And if we look at what they're doing right now, it's all part of the plan. Yes, they're using excuses. They're using other issues that's going on. And they're using this as a cover story. I mean, the safe zone in Syria is going to help bring in ground troops, and it's going to help with the offensive into Damascus. That's really what it is. And of course, they're saying, they're doing this and they're creating the safe zone because they don't want the Kurds to form their own break-off region. And we know this is all part of this illusion of why they're really there. And we see already the rebels, they're mounting their offensive towards Assad's home province. They're marching towards this area. This is their goal. We are already getting reports that the Islamic State, the proxy army for the United States government, central bankers, the rebels, they are hitting the power infrastructure of Syria. And right now, electricity is being increasingly rationed in the government-controlled areas. The Prime Minister of Syria, who addressed the parliament, cited several major attacks since May on gas plants, and they are systematically targeting these areas to shut down the power. Now, we've seen blackouts in Syria before, right before something happened. And it looks like they're trying to shut off the power in certain areas in advance to some type of invasion in the government-controlled areas. And we're going to have to watch this very closely because we can see this whole thing is starting to heat up. Now, we understand the authorization for war is still pending in Congress, not gaining any traction right now. And we see the Islamic State is out there saying they're preparing to attack India to provoke a confrontation with the United States. So basically, this group of about, 20 to 50 people and their film crew, they're going to attack India because they want war with the United States. Does this make any sense? No, it doesn't. This is coming out of a U.S. media report that they found on an internal recruitment document of the group. And they're saying preparations are underway. Preparations for an attack on India are underway. It adds, which is the Islamic State hope, which will end with a war with the U.S. Even if the U.S. tries to attack with all its allies, which undoubtedly it will, the world global community will be united, resulting in the final battle. So it looks like they are, and I say they, the United States government central bankers, are preparing something huge. It looks like they are preparing us for war. And with this coming out and then moving into India, and of course India is part of the BRIC system, we can see the goal here. Because wherever the Islamic State is, that's where the United States is allowed to go under the authorization for war. Is it legal? No. But of course, it's the authorization for war. We can go wherever we want. And we can see something big is about to happen. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.